Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Everyone, old Captain here. We have a video request, and he didn't want me to mention any details, and so instead of reading the request and trying to edit myself the entire time, I'm just going to tell you the general question. And the general question is, should you join a fraternity, or in the case of the ladies, a sorority? Although, in today's modern universities, I'm going to be real curious to see how you sororities or fraternities deal with the cross-dressers and the transgender and this and that. And what if I'm pansexual and all this fucking bullshit these universities are coming up with? Anyway, I cannot speak directly to sororities because I think it is a different game. It's a different ball of wax there, and men and women are different, so I think the incentive for sororities and fraternities might be a little bit different, but I'm going to say for sure this is my opinion about fraternities, and I would guess it's the same for sororities, but women may have different priorities, we'll put it that way. But since you're a guy, we'll talk about fraternities. In short, no, I don't think it's worth joining a fraternity unless you come from a lot of money and you don't have to work. I know people who love their fraternity. I mean, I've gone to a handful of weddings, and you know, their fraternity brothers are still there. You could tell they had a grand old time. You could tell that they have formed some of those few and key lifelong relationships, and no doubt there is some connections and benefits that come with it. But if you were like me or many other people, where you know, it was, yeah, I got invited. They wanted me to pledge with this fraternity, and yeah, and they were nice. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, I went to a couple parties. I certainly enjoyed it. I didn't have the time. There was no way I could have graduated on time and with as little debt, well, no debt. I couldn't hold a job, and you got to pay your dues, and that's not even the worst. You usually get a pretty good deal for lodging, and it's not really the finances. It's the time. You go to college to get an education so you can get a job. That is the number one reason you go to college. I know teachers and professors and shitty-ass parents and the rest of the world and movie producers and touchy-feely kumbaya types all tell you go to college is for the experience. No, that's not an experience. Not when you're forking over 75 grand in 4 years of your youth to go to college. That is serious-ass shit that should be taken serious-ass shittily, and you're not fucking around. You're there to get a skill. You're there to get a trade. So, for all the pros there is to joining a fraternity or sorority, if you need to work, if you don't have food on the table, if you're poor, it's not worth it. You're better off getting a job. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people, God, how am I going to make friends? Dude, I don't understand this. I really don't understand how do I make friends? Haven't you made friends naturally throughout the course of your life? A little trick I'll show you, how do you get women? I don't worry about it. Like, do you ever think, God, how did I get my buddy Steve? Well, it just happened naturally. You and Steve were hanging out in the 3rd grade, and then, you know, you sat next to Steve, and then you talked to Steve, and then you guys are playing kickball, and you made friends on the kickball field. It's the same thing. Oh, how do I talk to women? Don't worry. It'll happen naturally. If you worry about it, you will preemptively negate all your efforts, and then you'll make it an issue. And then it will become much more difficult. So I understand this, how do I make friends? Go to your fucking classes. You'll meet people. These frat parties, don't worry. You can buy your way into them. You can, you know, usually they'll have a cover charge or something like that. There are also house parties. You're not going to miss out on the party scene in college if you don't join a fraternity. And truth, those house parties, they're not worth. It's like a nightclub, sort of. It's kind of like, yeah, you want to do it so you can say, what does it look like on the inside? And then in hindsight, you're like, boy, that was a waste of fucking time. So in terms of social life and social activity, if you joined a fraternity or sorority, would you have slightly more social life? Yes, but you were going to anyway because you could afford it, because you didn't have to have a job. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a social life. This doesn't mean you're not going to meet people in classes. This doesn't mean you're going to not meet people in the lab. Lab, for those of you who are liberal arts majors, and humanities majors, that's where all the adult students do the real work and create all the technological shit. So we have enough economic production that we can afford you to go and major in your stupid, worthless crap. Don't worry about lab. It's all mathy and chemistry and technology, and it's all patriarchy. So anyway, you will have a social life. You will still make connections. And maybe your senior year, if you want to join, like all of a sudden you're coming in on a final glide path and you have some money saved up. You think you can afford it. You streamline. There's a lot of efficiency in terms of time management skills that occur your first 2 years of college. And all of a sudden, I got time to join a fraternity. Sure. But what I'd recommend is maybe, your university may or may not offer this, but if there's a fraternity that you want to join, maybe consider a professional fraternity, the Chemical Engineer Society, or what was it called? Clovis. It was a sorority over at the St. Paul campus. I think it was a sorority, and it was women of agriculture. And you didn't want to go to a lot of their parties. I'm not against it, but you got to priorities, man. And a fraternity or a sorority is a luxury most college students can't afford. So just my opinion, certainly not a bad thing. Certainly isn't going to hurt you unless you end up becoming one of these party freaks and you drop out of college. But you don't have time for it, frankly. You just don't have time. So focus on your studies. Focus on your career. Focus on your grades. Go to college for the original intent of going to college. And then maybe your senior, maybe even your junior, also you get your streamlined, things are firing on all cylinders, all pistons, fine. Then join a fraternity, but definitely not for your first 2 years. Best of luck. Toodles.